Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to use Panopto to record yourself giving a PowerPoint presentation, and once we finish up it's going to give us a video file that's going to include both the PowerPoint presentation, your audio of you giving the presentation, and a small window of the webcam feed of you giving that presentation. So first I'm going to get onto Panopto, which everyone has access to if they are a current UW student. So I'm going to go to UW-Tacoma's website. And if you go under this Tools section at the top, you're going to select Panopto in that drop down. Now once you click on this, you'll probably see a ton of videos already that have been shared to you by professors or some that you've already recorded yourself. We're going to ignore all of this for now, and we're going to go up to this Create button at the top, and we're going to hit Record New Session. And then it's going to ask us to record the Panopto player if you haven't already. You can hit Download Panopto and that'll begin installing. I already have it installed, so I'm just going to hit Open Panopto. And it's asking me if I want to allow this, and of course I do. So it has opened up the Panopto app, which will look like this little green, almost recycling looking logo in your dock, or if you're on a PC, it'll be somewhere in your applications. So a couple of things to be aware of first. At the top, it's already asking, how would I like this to be titled? That's what this session area is referring to. And I'm just going to call this PowerPoint test. And this folder area is asking where you want it to save it to. So I would recommend throwing it in My Folder. You might have folders created for specific classes you've had in the past, or if you made other recordings. It's really difficult to track these recordings down if you throw them in a folder that you weren't expecting. So throw it in My Folder is the safest bet for finding that later to download this finished file. So I got my save location, I've got it titled the way I want. Now in the secondary sources, this is showing the screen that it's going to record as the secondary source. So this will eventually be the PowerPoint. In this bottom section here, it's asking what it would like to what you want it to record besides the webcam that I'm going to turn on in a moment. And I'm going to tell it to record. I've got Keynote on my computer. You would probably have PowerPoint, but make sure this is toggled on so that it's going to be recording your PowerPoint slideshow as you're doing it. And one of the cool things about Panopto is it is going to include chapter markers for each time you advance a slide. So make sure that whatever you're using, Keynote, PowerPoint, make sure that that is selected to be recorded as well. And then finally, I'm going to select my video feed. And that's working. And you also want to make sure that you have the correct microphone selected. And if you can see these little green bars filling up at the bottom, that means that you're getting good levels on your microphone. So now that I have everything set up to record the way that I want, I'm going to hit this little guy here. And it's going to automatically start recording. So I'm going to minimize this guy, minimize my browser window. And here I have a PowerPoint slide that I'm going to launch into. Now before I start, it's important to keep in mind that once we do finish this video to send out, it's going to record this presentation in what's called picture-in-picture. So this slide here is going to represent the PowerPoint recording that it's capturing, and then this section here is the webcam video that it's going to overlay with my presentation. So as you're making your PowerPoint, it's important to note that this section in the bottom right here, maybe this bottom lower third here, is going to be covered up with your video feed. So make sure you don't have any important information in this general area that could be covered up by your camera feed. So with that said, I'm going to launch this PowerPoint really quick and go through that. Here's that picture-in-picture slide I was talking to you about. Here is the beginning of my presentation. Here is the second slide. And here's the final slide, which is probably going to have a lot of that picture hidden by my video feed when I finish this up. So I'm going to escape out of this presentation and go down to my Panopto recorder, and I'm going to tell this to stop. Okay, So if I open up my PowerPoint window one more time, it's let me know that the recording is complete, asking me one more time what I would like to call this recording. I'm going to leave that as is, and I'm going to tell it to begin uploading to the online storage. So depending on how long your recording it was and your internet speed, this process can take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. Just keep this up and keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't stall. And once that wraps up, I will open up the browser and show the next step. So I've clicked on my folder, which you remember is where I told it to save that recording, and we can see it here at the very top of the list. Now, when I recorded this session, it also recorded all of that time before I launched my PowerPoint. So I want to go in and actually trim some off of the beginning and maybe the end of the recording too. So I'm going to click on this edit button next to the recording. Now within the Panopto editor, it's pretty basic. It's only going to allow me to make cuts from the video. So I'm going to play this until I see I begin my PowerPoint presentation. And it's going to automatically start recording. So I'm going to minimize this guy, minimize my browser window, and here I have a PowerPoint slide that I'm going to launch into. Now before I start, it's important to keep in mind that once we do finish this video, to send the PowerPoint recording, that it's kind of a section in the bottom with information in this general area that could, and go through that. Okay, so right about there is when my presentation actually starts. So I'm going to click where this red line is, and I'm going to drag it all the way to the start. This entire section that has been dimmed gray will be cut once I tell it to apply the changes. Now it looks like the little icon right here is showing me where that PowerPoint is beginning, and I'm going to assume that this PowerPoint here is showing me where that is ending. So I'm going to click on the top of this timeline to make my playhead jump to that area. I'm going to hit play and see where this PowerPoint ends. Final slide, which is probably going to have a lot of that picture hidden by my video feed when I finish this up. So I'm going to escape out of this presentation. And right there. So let me back this up. And it looks like right there is where it ends. So I'm going to click again from that red line and hold and drag to select the rest of that portion to be cut. Now once I play with this preview cuts during playback selection checked, it is only going to play this little white section here. Come on. Here's that picture-in-picture slide I was talking to you about. Here is. Let's jump towards the end. So I'm gonna escape out of this. And there we go. So I'm happy with my cuts. I'm gonna hit apply. Changes applied to video. Close the editor. Okay. And now it's got to do some more processing to lock in those cuts that I just made. So I'm going to click on the See Other Sessions in my folder. And it's got this little cycle button showing that it's processing the podcast. So this can take a bit of time too. So give this anywhere from, I don't know, 15 to an hour, hopefully, is how long it'll take to process all of those cuts. My video has finished processing all those edits I made. So now I'm ready to download a video file of that PowerPoint feed in my webcam feed. So I'm going to click on the share button next to the recording. So I'm going to click on this outputs section on the left nav bar, and now this is going to show me all of the different ways that I can download a file of that recording. Now it says download podcast. This is what I'm going to click to download the file, but even though it says podcast, it is going to give you a video file of that recording. So I'm going to have picture-in-picture selected as my type. That's going to give me the PowerPoint in the background and the webcam feed on top in that lower right corner. And I'm going to leave it at 720p, 30 frames per second. That'll be fine. And everything looks good. So I'm just going to hit download. And that was super quick. So I'm going to play it real quick and make sure that the audio is working. Here's that picture-in-picture slide I was talking to you about. Here is the beginning of my presentation. And that looks good. And it actually put that webcam feed even more off in the right corner. So it isn't gonna block, I think, what is that second slide right there. So, I mean, we're only losing a tiny portion of that corner. Now, this might be different depending on what PowerPoint you're using. If you have the slides set up to be 16:9 ratio or 4:3 ratio. So if you can avoid keeping really important content in that bottom right corner, you're probably going to be safe with that webcam overlay on top. But now that I have an MP4 of this file and my entire presentation, I can then send this MP4 out to whoever needs to get it, whether that be through Google Drive or on Canvas or whatever you guys have talked about beforehand. So that is how to use Panopto to record PowerPoint presentations along with a video of yourself giving that presentation to create a file that you can send out to anyone that you want. If you have any other questions on how to do this process, please reach out to us at the Multimedia Lab. Thank you.